Good morning. I'm glad to see everyone here this morning. It's a chilly day in Georgia, so I'm glad that you came out and joined us. And I am so excited to be able to say that our accompanist today is the one, the only, Mr. Scott Hooker.
I can't think of anybody I'd rather be embarrassed by.
So Scott, what are we going to start with?
I believe you're going to have to supply the page numbers now.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way is the first thing.
Right, I'm on my way. Let's check it out and see what page.
As I recall, this is an F, but I'm going to do
29.
That's I think a kinder, gentler.
I said 29.
29?
We're going to sing number, I believe it's
29.
29.
29, right?
29. Please rise as you're going and able. Page number 21, I'm on my way.
Yeah, that's what we can't run, you keep going. felt good.
It thrills me every time I see you at the piano and hear your music, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first existentialist congregation of Atlanta. We are a spiritual community, philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles, dedicated to human liberation and the protection of the natural world. We make our spiritual home here in the Old Stone Church, which was hand-built by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church more than 100 years ago. I love these tin ceilings, the wainscoting. This is the feel of this building is wonderful, and the spirit that they put into it, and that we continue. We acknowledge that racial hostility drove those African Americans from the area, and we honor them and the powerful history of this place. We also acknowledge that in the 1800s, the Muscogee Creek people were driven from this land, and we support justice for all indigenous people. Let me say, we support justice for everyone.
Come on.
Amen. It's an important commitment that we must make every single day. So again, it's wonderful to see everyone here. Today is Mother's Day, and I know that there's some mothers out there. I'm not going to make you stand, but if you are a mother, would you raise your hand? I've always thought that being a mother was one of the hardest jobs you could possibly ask for. But hopefully, in each of your situations, it's also the most rewarding. So, thank you, mothers, for being here and for doing what you do. Mothers are very powerful. They have an enormous influence on their children. And what we find is that, and I look at my own mother and I think of all of the things that my mother had to deal with, you know, how she weathered the storms and how, by example, I learned, you know, how to deal with positive and negative things. Excuse me. Maya Angelou wrote about her mother. To describe my mother would be to write about a hurricane in its perfect power. I imagine some of you can identify with that if you're a mother, and some of you can think about your own mother and whether or not that would be a good description. I'd like to ask for community announcements. And now it's time for us to recognize any newcomers. Do we have anyone who is new or who hadn't been in a while and you'd like to
We're new.
Okay, you mind standing and telling us your name and how you came to be here?
I'm Mary Sandra. I've been here before. It's been about 6 years.
Oh, right in front of me. Yeah.
I'm Narga. This is my first time here, and just happened to
What? Okay, yeah. Say your name again.
Nargis.
Okay. So, great to have both of you. Anybody else?
Hi there. Yes, I'd like to introduce
my friend and neighbor Scotty. She is an old friend of the econ, and she's returning to come here. Yeah.
Why I ring with Charlie is because I've been living in Athens and I just couldn't leave them for the day. We moved there 6 years ago and we've come. So a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah.
Wonderful to be back home here.
Great to see you back. For those who are new, in the bulletin that you got, the little paper bulletin, and you don't have one. We need to fix that. We need to fix it. We don't have a bulletin there. There you go. If you would like, there's a...
Can you use the microphone, please?
Called the connection.
Marcia, can you use the microphone, please?
Duh. There's a little part called the connection card here in the bulletin. If you would like, please fill that out and put it in the collection plate or give it to someone after the service. And that way, we put you on our email list, and you'll get a couple emails each week just to let you know what's going on. So, I hope that you will do that so we can keep connected. How about birthdays and anniversaries? Who's on our list? Oh my gosh. We got a handful here. All right. Okay, so, over here on the left, is it both your birthdays?
Anniversary.
It's your anniversary. I should know that, shouldn't I?
9 years
So,
married by Martha.
happy anniversary to Libby and Charlene.
Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, dear Bonnie. Happy anniversary to you.
And we have 2 birthdays here. Who's going to go first?
Scott.
Okay, happy anniversary to Scott.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Scott. Happy birthday to you.
And standing right next to Scott is David. So happy birthday to David.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
How many years, Charlene?
23 years together, 9 years married.
All right, so we got our juices going. So, how about another congregational song? Let's see, Janna gave me the thing. Page number 52. Freedom is a constant struggle. Page number 52. have 2 in your pink book. Stand as you're willing and able.
They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. Oh Lord, we struggle so long. We must be free. We must be free. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. Oh Lord, we sorrow so long. We must be free. We must be free. They say that freedom is a constant dying. They say that freedom is a constant dying. They say that freedom is a constant dying. Oh Lord, we died so long. We must be free. We must be free. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. Oh Lord, we struggle so long. We must be free. We must be free.
That song was written a long time ago, but it is still relevant to this very day. And our mothers are an important influence in our lives. And I think that they get very little, or certainly not enough, recognition and appreciation for the job that they do. I think that if my mother were still alive, that I would be more vocal in my appreciation, to her and what she gave me, because so many of the gifts that she gave me are such a core, important part of who I am. You and I and so many others do understand, and yes, I feel your mother's presence upon its wind alongside mine and others. I can't remember who wrote that, but we all know her. It'll come to me. We have 2 community announcements. This one, everybody pick up your ears and listen. The book and bake sale will be Saturday, June the 14th. Put that in your calendar. But there'll be many volunteer opportunities. They'll be available Thursday through Sunday. And I'll be sending out an email that will specify what those times are and what we need to do during those times. So please look for that email, but put that date please on your calendar so that you don't let it go by and think, I missed it. The other thing too is please be looking through your bookcases and be sure and pull out those books that you read and you're ready to pass on so that someone else can get joy from that. So please do that and bring those books in so that we'll have plenty of books to fill up this room and bring lots more joy and entertainment and knowledge to many others.
The date again, Marcia?
I'm sorry?
The date again? The date?
June 14th.
June 14th.
I don't have on one of those hearing devices.
That's all right, I'm wearing 2 of them.
So, that's June the 14th. Also, this is important. We used to have this wonderful picture hanging on our wall that's called Patriotism by Deb Steinman. It seems to be gone missing. So if anyone might know where that is, then please let us know so we can put it back up on the wall. Patriotism.
What does it look like?
It's right under here, over here.
Oh, the one over the,
Isn't it a flag?
No, it's a quilt that Deb Steinman had made and donated to us.
I think, are you saying it's downstairs?
No, it was right underneath that other painting
I
there.
think Susan is saying it's downstairs.
It is downstairs.
Okay.
Ah,
okay.
the definitive word has emerged.
Ask and it shall be given. All right. Wish everything was that simple. Now we're going to have a time for silence. This is an opportunity for you to go within, to pray, to meditate, to just be within yourself, quiet. We have candles on each side of the sanctuary, and I will, when it's time for us to come back together. During meditation, I remembered the author of the first quote, Mary Oliver. How about another congregational song? I've got a page number, but I can't do Janna's writing, so I'm gonna look up the page.
I wish they didn't know, feel to be free, right?
Page number 70. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. Oh, I see it now. Please, rise as you're willing and able, and join in singing. Page number 70. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free.
I wish I could break all these
to us by way of Mose Allison. And it's going to sound kind of grim at first, but keep listening. The last line will give it to you. Fretting about what you didn't do. What? No, let's try it again. Fretting about things you're going through. Regretting all the things you didn't do. Relying on compensations you found. Groaning beneath the weight of it, bemoaning the fickle fate of it, complying just to keep your feet on the ground. That won't get you any place, won't excuse you from the race. When you meet your destiny face to face, there'll be no wrong or right, and no more wish I might. And if there's gonna be rain tonight, let it come down.
Now, one of my great pleasures and honor is to introduce someone that's not a stranger to us, and who has a heart here in First E, and someone who always has something so insightful to share with us. So please, everyone, welcome Janna Nelson.
Well, it's so good to see everybody this morning. Before I get started, I want to just, first of all, thank all of the people that helped last night. It was a magical evening. I can't list everybody because I know I would forget somebody. But thank you for helping us just have a delicious experience. And one thing that I remember Lanier telling me decades ago, he said, you know, when something good happens, you need to chew it. You just need to chew it. And so because that was not my upbringing. You know, savoring was not something that was really talked about. So I am still savoring the deliciousness from last night. So I had technological mishap, a series of them. But I was never able to print out my talk, which I always do, and then I make changes. The technological issues continue. Scott, I just hit the microphone with my hand, Scott. So anyway, David, I emailed it to David's big iPad. So those of you that have told me I need to slow down will be happy today because I have to slow because I didn't have a chance to mark it up. So here we go. So, you know, being in this space, being within these walls, this old stone church, always is a comfort to me. The fact that there is consistent sanctuary, that people have a place to come to practice being in the world in a different way. That's how Lanier described it to me decades ago. This is an experiment. It's like our country. This country is an experiment. And sometimes experiments turn out different ways. So here we are. But you know, we filled the space with celebration, with mourning, with projects, freedom, lots of collaboration, lots of joy and laughter and play. And we need that so much. The people that built this building knew about getting through hard times. They knew that you do it by together. It's the only way. Together and finding strength and common purpose. Having shared values that lift you up, that you get to practice with each other and how you actually operate. Because we cannot take the politics of domination that exist in the outer world and bring them here, into our business here. So learning how to do things in a different way. This is the space for that. Last night I was working on this downstairs while an abundance of volunteers were helping David get the food set up and all of that. And I have to tell you, the joy that I felt being in that space, I envisioned something very much like that. The way that it looks now, the way that it looks outside, the beauty inside and outside is something that I dreamed of decades ago. To see the communities coming together, supporting each other in mutual ways, and they needed space, we needed financial support. But the like-mindedness of the organizations, having children's laughter and play, and arguing, and whatever else goes on, just having that energy in this building really makes me so happy. So, happy Mother's Day to anyone here who had a mother. And you know, Mother's Day can be like a lot of holidays. For some people it can be fraught. It can be difficult. It can be difficult because you've lost a mother that you love so dearly, which was the case with the first, with the woman who actually came up with Mother's Day, Anna Jarvis. She was not a mother, but she lost her mother, who she loved deeply. And I'm going to share some words she had to say about the commercialization here in a minute. But happy Mother Day to mothers who are biological mothers, mothers who adopted, mothers who never really adopted or had a child, but who provided that, the caring, the nurturing, the support to a young one along the way. Because that, in the definition of mother, is one who raises, who has and or raises a child and provides caring, nurture, love. And some people, it's a difficult holiday because you had a biological mother who maybe didn't provide those things. Which, as we get older, we understand it's because she wasn't provided those things. You know, we see the effects of multi-generational trauma in so many ways. It's in our genes. And so, anyway, it's a complex holiday. You know, I don't care for manufactured holidays where there's all this pressure to perform and so on. And so I was happy to find out that Anna Jarvis believed that the day should be about personal expressions of love and appreciation. A handwritten letter, a visit, a meal. She found the commercialization of a holiday to be maudlin and insincere. In 1920, she released a press release condemning florists. Those florists can be vicious. She said, what? I'm going to back up a little bit. What will you do to rout charlatans, bandits, racketeers, kidnappers, and other termites that would undermine with their greed one of the finest, noblest, and truest movements and celebrations. So she didn't like it either. I'm a very lucky person. I realized that. It really hit me, because I've done a lot of work on untangling some of the, especially the religious indoctrination as a daughter of Southern Baptist parents, that whole kind of fallen from the grace of God, the whole trance of unworthiness that can, as Kara Brock phrases it, that can come when you are raised with kind of guilt and shame. For years, I just said, it runs in my blood, and I don't think it'll ever come out. I'm here to say, I've worked on it, and I don't have shame anymore. Not that kind of shame, yeah. It's pretty incredible. And I'm going to be careful about what words I use. When I get excited, I can get salty. So I'm being recorded, so I'll keep it clean for Mother's Day. So I was lucky. I spoke here a week and a half after my mother died. It was just when our trip was scheduled. And I was able with my siblings to support my mom living her last days in our home, and being with her as she died in her home. So being part of that was one of the most, and I have to use the word sacred. It was a sacred process. And when I got up here to start, I just started with something I hadn't planned to say. I said, I know I was loved by my mother. And I know that that is not the gift that everyone here has received. And what a difference it makes. I know I was held with tenderness. So often when we have problematic areas with mothers who are critical, controlling, judgmental, we have to learn how to undo that. And fortunately, our mothers are in us. And the mother that just genetically speaking, we all come from the same mother way back. And just that is so remarkable to me. The interconnection, which also runs through the writings of some of the people that I'm going to be talking about. The interconnection that we all have. We're one big family. And I've been working with the internal family systems model in therapy, and I love it. The name of the book that goes with it is No Bad Parts. So, we have parts that can be problematic, but they're not bad. We learn to work with them. And I call on my internal mother that mothers me. And I also will go to the foothills of the Sandia Mountains to carry on conversations with my mother. And I have to tell you, one reason we moved to Albuquerque is because of a lot of family, but because I wanted to be there with my mom, to have a chance to have deep conversations that only come when you have unhurried time. And I came to feel fully, I didn't share everything, but I shared a lot. And she would lie down and put her feet up and she'd say, philosophize. We would read her Bible reading in the morning, and I would give my take on it. And she was interested. So when my mom died, by the time she died, I knew that she was proud of me, which I spent most of my life feeling like I could never measure up. Well, because I left the church, And that was deeply painful to both of my parents, because they had the kind of faith where I won't be reunited with them.
Right.
And that's hard. So, moving on to some of the mothers that I claim. The original title was, "We Were Made for These Times." And then it's like, oh my goodness, it's Mother's Day. So, it's a totally, I already had the sermon, "We Were Made for These Times," and this sermon is totally different. So, and it's not finished, so it'll never be finished. But the times we're in, wow. We are living through something more dramatic than anything I've ever lived through. And at the same time, it's so remarkable. We live here. Most of us have had a relative degree of comfort most of our lives, access to resources. We don't live in Gaza or Sudan. You know, the percentage of people who have the resources and the privileges that we have on this globe is tiny. So, learning how to leverage that privilege in the pursuit of human liberation is really important. One of the mothers I claim is Sharon Welch, who wrote a book called The Feminist Ethics of Risk. And the only thing I'm going to share from that today is she talks about how in middle-class social movement kind of organizations, where, say, for instance, she talks about the anti-nuclear movement, where if there is not success, or if only partial aims are achieved, there's just this sort of dissolving of spirit and energy. And she calls it the luxury of despair. That, you know, you're comfortable. You have what you need. And so why get involved in this mess out here? It's just too much. Just throw up my hands. I feel helpless. And I do. The suffering is so great in so many arenas. I was thrilled last night when Chris, who I taught in 4th grade, 15 years ago, who was, I see children as children, but I also really see them as human beings. You know, they're not like a different species or something, the way that some people seem to see them. But anyway, when I first met him, it was like, this is a remarkably awake person. And his family's wonderful. But he sat in on saxophone. And Jeff was able to kind of mentor him and show him some things to do. He was the other sax player. But he's working for a nonprofit organization that works with immigration and immigrants. And so we talked about what a stressful week he'd had. And yet he looked at me with his eyes shining and a smile on his face. He said, "I'm getting paid to do the work that needs to be done. And it's so much better to do the work than not do the work." And to see that in a 23, 24-year-old man, it just made me very happy. So on to some of the mothers. Boy, I've got to speed it up. Okay. Well, I'm going to first mention Simone de Beauvoir, who I discovered in my late teens. I discovered the book, The Ethics of Ambiguity, which I didn't know how to read philosophy. And when I went back to it, it's like, wow, I haven't been reading this kind of material in a while. But it just grabbed me, the ethics of ambiguity. Because I was raised in she talks about people fleeing from their freedom and the ways that people do that. You know, we flee our freedom through bad faith, when we're not honest, when we're not facing our ambiguity and accepting it, when instead we're wanting to run into the arms of somebody that's going to tell us what it's all about. Here, do these things, say these things, Vote for these people, and you'll be safe, and you'll belong. Belonging is such a critical human need. And she talks about how the meaning of life is not preordained, but it's actively created through our choices and actions. She emphasizes that having a meaningful life is a continuous process of creating and pursuing projects and values. And so, reading this, even just a little bit, I got interested in existentialism. I took a class with our own Linda Bell. I discovered this place. I read, I think I have it memorized, but just in case. A philosophically based spiritual community. It was like, okay, I don't want a religious community. This is philosophically based. It's spiritual. And already my understanding of spirit is related to the root word, which is espiritu, which is breath. We're all connected to our breath. We're connected with trees. You know, it's this mutuality, philosophically based, spiritual community. Oh, it doesn't have the whole thing. Based on existentialist and feminist principles, because I was also reading feminism, dedicated to the spirit of human liberation, and I was hooked. I never thought I would be coming to church at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and every time I'd come up those stairs, I'd be like, what am I doing here? I was never going to come to one of these places. So, you know, people often flee their freedom because the uncertainty and the responsibility that comes with it can be overwhelming. And this is what leads people to seek comfort in something that's predetermined. And also, we are all living with internalized characteristics of white supremacy. Perfectionism. The idea that there's such a thing as purity. Either or thinking. My way or the highway. Might makes right. The practices of domination that include shaming, shunning, excluding. And those are the kinds of things that this community has the opportunity when problems arise to say, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave that stuff at the door. You know, we're going to find other ways to work through conflict situations. But, you know, the ambiguity of human existence, our overlapping dualities, and the lack of objective moral truths where you're not handed a Bible and says, it's all right here. No, you're going to need to get somebody else to tell you what it means and what to leave out. But it can lead, when people feel led to seek out external sources of authority and meaning, when societal pressures and expectation pressures individuals to conform, it suppresses their individual freedom and expression. Another mother I claim is Sonia Renee Taylor, in her book, The Body Is Not an Apology, which just that title right there. And for someone who lives in a very damaged body, I've had to really work on loving all of me. On, you know, if pain is my constant companion, what kind of relationship do I want with that? Do I want to be angry? No. So making peace with that. We all have to make peace with certain aspects of ourselves, and it's very hard in this hyper-capitalistic society that says, look, your teeth can be whiter, people will like you better. Shine your hair. Weight, you gotta lose that weight because she came up with this expression I love because I realized I did it, and I'm sure I still do. I know I still do. Health trolling. Did you get that? Health trolling. Where you feel like it's okay for you to talk about somebody else's health in a way where it's like you or the same thing with fat phobia, where it's just like, she would look so much better if she would just lose 20 pounds, Now, it's one thing to say, I love myself and I want to feel better in my body. And right now, these things are making it harder. And I want to find a way to be in a better relationship with that. But to hate your body and to do things for that reason, change is not sustainable. Hate does not sustain ongoing effort. I'm getting off topic. But anyway, she came up with this great thing called the body shame profit complex. In this country, people spend $56 billion on an average to industries that comprise that. So, the thing about Simone is she's not exactly a warm, cuddly mother. Very heady. I read a biography and I thought, I could not, the intensity, the pressure, that's why we get to claim all the mothers we need. I mean, if you want to frame it like that, I kind of had to work with it for Mother's Day. But one thing about being a mother is we can be one of the biggest projection boards out there. And mothers are expected to have all the positive attributes all the time, which just ain't gonna happen. So that's what makes it convenient to claim all the mothers that we need and desire. So here, I want to talk about Audre Lorde. I came across her essay in the power of the full title, Uses of the Erotic. The erotic is power. And she's not talking about sex. She's talking about that thing that springs up from you. The thing that says, yes. She talks about we have been raised to fear the yes within ourselves, our deepest cravings. But once recognized, those which do not enhance our future lose their power and can be altered. So she talks about embracing self-connection. She talks about getting in touch with that erotic power to paint a bookcase, to clean your kitchen, to be attuned to yourself in such a deep way that you feel that power coming through you. She talks about one of the ways that erotic functions for her comes from sharing deeply any pursuit with another person. And Simone de Beauvoir and Sartre also talk a lot about pursuing projects, projecting into the future, and collaboration. The sharing of joy, whether physical, emotional, psychic, or intellectual, forms a bridge between the sharers. So another one of my mothers is Maria Lugones, who wrote an essay about world traveling, playful world traveling, how we all live in so many different worlds, and how the more able we are to travel to other people's worlds. Every person contains a world. Have you ever noticed you're a different person with different people? And then you meet somebody new, and your interactions bring out something from you you didn't even know was there. So this seeking out a plurality of differences, multi-generational, multi-racial, multi-class, really expanding ourselves. She says, another important way in which the erotic connection functions is the open and fearless underlining of my capacity for joy. In the way my body stretches to music and opens into response, hearkening to its deepest rhythms. So every level upon which I sense also opens to the erotically satisfying experience, whether it is dancing, building a bookcase, examining an idea. That self-connection shared is a measure of the joy which I know myself to be capable of feeling, a reminder of my capacity for feeling. And that deep and irreplaceable knowledge of my capacity for joy comes to demand from all of my life that it be lived within the knowledge that such satisfaction is possible and does not have to be called marriage, nor God, nor an afterlife. Yeah. This is one reason the erotic is so feared. Because, the system doesn't want people that are in power. The system, the regime, wants us to be afraid. Wants us to stay in our houses. Wants us to close down. Wants us to look for someone who will tell them what to do. Well, told to them. So, this cultivating of joy, of connection, is absolutely an act of resistance. Fascism is not fun. Loretta Ross says, being a fascist sucks. Fighting fascism should be fun. All right? How many minutes do we need at the end? I think I have to wrap up. Does it take, I guess I really need to stop now. All right. Gloria Hunsel-Dua speaks of being a border woman and the power that comes when you live on the borders, on the edges, and you have multiple identities. If you claim that as your spot, rather than feeling like you were relegated to it, it can be a place of power. And you see more when you're in the center all the time, or in your little silo. Your vision is limited. When you claim the space on the edges, it's a position of power. Okay. Also with the world traveling, playful world traveling. And a lot of these writers all talk about the importance of play. So, I'm going to wrap up. Pema Chodron, also, she's a Buddhist nun. There is no such thing as a nun. Pema Chodron also encourages us to lighten up, to learn to feel our feelings without concretizing into elaborate storylines and narratives that keep us stuck. She encourages us to recognize our connection with all human beings, to nurture patience and generosity, to not add any cruelty to this world, to refrain. Boy, howdy, refraining, ooh, that can take some, that can be a lot of work. Because boy, it feels so good to just say it, but then the cleanup, not so good. She also talks about not making our emotions our identity. So, not I'm an angry person, but this is anger. This is anger. Recognize it. And then if you can, let it go. Explore it if you need to, but embrace it. Loretta Ross has brought us calling in, which always begins with the self. She says that calling in is the process and human rights, the goal. Because how we do the work is just as important as the work of liberation. If I deny another person's innate worth and dignity because I'm angry and I disagree with them and I want to call them names, but if all of that, then I'm not aligned with my integrity. Now, in my own home, it's a different thing. Or in the car, sometimes you just got to kind of let it go. But calling in requires developing the ability to self-reflect and engage with curiosity and compassion. Because, as Audre Lorde said, the master's house will not be dismantled with the master's tool. We have to use tools that come from our joy. We have to make people, we have to be irresistible. Our happiness, working with each other, playing with each other. You know, let's make the liberation movement a place where people want to be. You know? Let's show them what's possible. It requires a lot of emotional strength, and we've got all kinds of mothers we can claim. I'm sure you all have your list. And also, never forget that sense of humor. Sense of humor is a saving grace. Thank you, everybody. It is pure joy and delight to be here with you today.
Thank you so much, Janna. And now we're going to have a closing congregational song. And I don't know if Scott picked this out specifically for me, but we're going to stand and sing, if you're willing and able, page number 33, This Little Light of Mine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
so much for being here this wonderful, even though it's a chilly, cloudy day, it is still, we are still alive. So let us celebrate that. Next Sunday, I hope that you will come back and we will hear Catherine Moore. And after the service today, we have a discussion group on existentialism. So if anyone would like to stay for that, please do. So, happy Mother's Day to everyone. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. Joy!